good football teams find ways to win no matter what the game looks like. And good football teams find ways to beat teams that they're 17-point favorites over, no matter what the football game looks like over the course of 4 quarters. And so very concerned about, about the I guess the intestinal fortitude, I guess if you want to call it that, of this team.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another 3-Maw Pod. I am your host today, Cole Manbeck, joined as always weekly during the season with former Kansas State wide receiver and partner over at Wildcat NIL, Curry Sexton. And we're here to unfortunately talk about another Kansas State loss as the Wildcats fall to Army 24-21 last Saturday in Manhattan, which called for the bourbon to be flowing. Unfortunately, we had quite a bit of that in consumption on Saturday evening and drained a lot of Ben Holiday bottled and bond bourbon. So hopefully all you Kansas State fans were able to get a bottle of Ben Holiday bottled and bond bourbon, so you had it on hand to drown your sorrows in what was a very difficult loss and what's been a tumultuous start to the Kansas State football season. We appreciate our friends over at Holiday Distillery. Again, go get stocked up with Ben Holiday bottled and bond bourbon. Have it at your tailgate, have it for your watch party, have it this weekend when you're watching the Cats on Friday night. Hopefully you're drinking it in happiness to celebrate a K-State win this time instead of drowning your sadness, however. So, Curry, I'm just going to get right out of the gate here with our top storyline of the week, which is brought to you by our friends over at Elenco, premium window, premium bathroom remodeling company. For all your home improvement and remodeling needs, contact Elenco. Get over there. They serve Northeast Kansas, Kansas City, Western Missouri. Go to elencohome.com. That's ALENCO home.com. And again, owned and operated by tremendous K-Staters. They're probably consuming the Ben Holiday bottled and bond bourbon as well right now. We appreciate Elenco. Support them and get stocked up with all your home improvement needs. Contact them and go to elencohome.com. Curry, how concerned are you at this point? We talked last week that we thought they could right the ship and that this team was fine. They'll ultimately be able to figure it out. And then as a 17.5-point favorite, they fall to Army on Saturday. And I know it was a weird game, though I think a lot of the reason it was weird, Kansas State kind of made it weird with their inability to get off the field, their inability to score touchdowns and stay on the field offensively, a couple of different moments. But how concerned are you about the mentality and the mindset of this Kansas State football team right now?
Very concerned. I think you and I obviously talk frequently about the state of K-State athletics, and I was very much on the cliff on Saturday night, and I'm probably still largely on the cliff, but I've managed to find or manufacture some hope again over the last couple of days. And so while I'm very, very concerned about the state of the program and the direction of where we're headed, I still am grasping, for some hope here and there, finding some hope here and there with the belief that, hey, this is still a good football team. We have good players. Obviously, we've seen this coaching staff produce successful seasons, including a Big 12 championship. And so while I think there's still an opportunity for this thing to be turned around, for the ship to be righted, very concerned about the state of where we're at. And largely because since the Houston game last year, we've just seen this winning culture. We've seen it sort of erode. And a program that has historically under Coach Kleiman found ways to win a lot of close football games, all of a sudden we're winning basically none of them. Sure, we beat North Dakota. Sure, we came back in the bowl game and beat Rutgers in a close one. But other than that, you've seen just, game after game where tight ball games have just never gone our way. And it seems like this team is struggling to dig deep and find those ways to win. And it dates back to that Houston game where we had a 9-point lead in the fourth quarter and managed to blow that. And then obviously struggled at home against Arizona State, struggled at Iowa State, struggled in the opener against Iowa State, struggled against North Dakota, found a way to win, but then struggled against Army. We're just not doing the things that lead to winning games. And I know Saturday night, you can call it fluky, you can call it a weird game all you want, but at the end of the day, good football teams find ways to win no matter what the game looks like. And good football teams find ways to beat teams that they're 17-point favorites over, no matter what the football game looks like over the course of 4 quarters. And so very concerned about, about the I guess the intestinal fortitude, I guess if you want to call it that, of this team. I just don't think we don't tend to make the winning plays, and we don't have guys who are willing to do the little things and make the right decision every single time. And that is a big cause for concern.
And I honestly, Curry, as I look back, I mean, really probably the only weird part of the game that kind of fell out of Kansas State's control was the squib kick that drilled off K-State's up man, which, I think we were pretty emotional about in the post-game press conference afterwards in the post-game show on KCSN, and we'll talk about that as well here in a moment. But, Chris Kleiman had said they were prepared for the onside, so we had kind of framed it up like an onside. Obviously, they were squib kicking it to avoid after K-State had just returned a kickoff for a touchdown and just drilled the up man for Kansas State. I think it was Mikey Bergeron that got drilled by it. But really, that was the only thing that was kind of weird. I mean, You returned a kick. Like, otherwise, you just got to get off the field on 3rd and 4th down. Like, that's the reason it was 83 plays or 85 plays to 42, 43, because you couldn't get off the field and your offense didn't score touchdowns early on in those drives.
Yeah, I mean obviously I told you guys, I think, there was some frustration over, I think, just the messaging regarding that squib. But that, having played a lot of special teams in my career, that kicker could have tried to hit Mikey Bergeron the way that he did and have it ricochet back right to his guys 100 times, and probably could have executed it just like as perfectly as he did once or twice. So it was fluky. But at the end of the day, when you're a 17-point favorite against a team that just lost at home to Tarleton, that shouldn't matter. That shouldn't affect the outcome of a football game. What affects the outcome of the football game is what you just mentioned. It's the first drive of the football game that's failing to convert on third and 1 against an undersized football team, and then choosing to kick a field goal. When as a team that was ranked in the top 20 to start the season, you should be able to flex a little bit of muscle there and say, we're going to go get this first down, and then we're going to start this game with 6 points and put Army in a tough position. And so it's our offense's failure to convert red zone appearances into touchdowns. And then the defense obviously just played absolutely poorly for the large part of that game, and giving up a 2-minute drive to Army is not a good sign. And then obviously after that onside kick, or late in the 4th quarter on Saturday, just giving up. I mean, as a fan, you felt hopeless, right? You thought they're going to go for it on every 4th down if it's 4th and short, and all they got to do is get 2.5 yards, 3 yards on every single snap, and they're going to continue to convert. And that's exactly what they did. Felt a lot like the last drive of the North Dakota State game in 2013, where you just felt helpless. You knew that they were going to convert. You knew that they were going to go down and score. And you just hope that, hey, when our offense gets the ball back, I hope there's enough time, and I hope they find a way to go down and win this football game, or at the very least send it into overtime. And unfortunately, that just didn't take place. And so, very frustrated by the outcome. Again, just a completely lackluster performance across the board, minus a couple positives here and there.
Yeah, and Curry, the inability to get yardage in short yardage situations like that, to me, tells me that Chris Kleiman doesn't think he's good enough. His team's not good enough up front. That they're not physical enough, because, historically over the last few years, Chris Kleiman was a bit of a gambler, and he even was against Iowa State, right? 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 4th and 1s, especially 4th and 2s. They were going for it. Well, he had two 4th and 1.5, 2 yards on Saturday against Army, one on the very first drive of the game at the Army 15, where he elected for a field goal. You could have sent a message right there that, like, hey, we're not going to be messed around with. We're gonna get a yard against the military academy. It's undersized. And then 4th and 1 around the 50-yard line midfield, and he punted it, and they boomed it into the end zone for a touchback. Like, to me, that speaks volumes. This team's in the 120s nationally in power success rate and stuff rate allowed, Curry. Like, they can't run it between the tackles right now. And that's a huge concern.
It's a huge concern. And I think a few thoughts on that. One is unfortunately in those short yardage situations, we've got to get creative with our play calling. Somewhat like what we saw Iowa State did against us in the opener. We can't just run power power or dive on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 because our guys aren't getting a good enough push up front to make that work. And so we've got to get creative with play action and with rolling Avery out and giving him a run pass option. We've got on those 3rd and 4th and shorts, our offensive line has not shown an ability to get a push up front. And so we're going to have to get creative. And two, I think the frustrating part is we've historically been a good running team. We've historically had pretty good offensive lines. And especially against an inferior opponent, a 17-point dog, our offensive line should take pride in, okay, 3rd and 4th and 1, we're going to line up and we're going to play smash mouth football and we're going to beat you every single time. And unfortunately, we don't have 5 guys who are able to do that. And I think another thought on that initial 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, field goal, the decision to kick the field goal. Unfortunately, I think part of the analysis at that point is, in addition to, hey, we're struggling in short yardage situations, I think it's also, hey, we're a 17-point favorite. We're playing at home, playing against a team that just got beat at home by Tarleton. We feel like we're going to win this football game. Hey, let's get our brand new kicker some work. And so I'm sure that played into it as well. But then in retrospect, you look back and say, you know what, those 3 points didn't help us a whole heck of a lot, but 7 sure would have. And so, unfortunately, there's a lot of second guessing after the fact. But I can understand in the moment why you might think, okay, we're going to give Luis, some more work, get the unit some more work. We're going to win this football game comfortably. But it didn't play out that way. Army just aren't, for the most of the rest of the night, Army just beat us. So very frustrated by the lack of ability to convert on 3rd and 4th down, and relatedly, the lack of confidence in our offensive unit to go get first downs in those short yardage situations.
And we're going to get into the all-22 here in a little bit, and you're going to see some of the execution errors and the assignment mistakes K-State made. And Chris Kleiman, I know in the press conference, said really the halfback pass was the really one bad play by the K-State defense that stood out. I'm sure as he went back on the film, Curry, he's going to see a lot of bad things by the Kansas State defense. Look, I know at the final stats, if you take away the kneel downs at the end, Army was right around 3.7 yards per carry on 67 true rushing attempts. But, man, I tell you what, the eye discipline, and they talked about it and they harped on it. We see a lot of bad angles. We see a lot of missed assignments that you're going to see on the all-22, and a lot of it's coming from veteran guys, Curry. The guys that are your most experienced guys in the secondary, where they're taking horrific angles. And I know it's a unique system. You're not getting enough dominance up front either from your defensive line. They went to this 4-2-5 because they thought they had a lot of talent up front, and they got shoved around a little bit. And I know they wore down at times, but you allowed 6 straight 4th down conversions to end the game.
Yeah.
And Army goes 6 of 7 in the game on 4th. Curry, you probably remember the 4th and 3 on the second drive of the game by Army. They went forward. The one they missed, guy was wide open. Mm-hmm. They just threw a bad pass. They should have went 7 of 7 on 4th down. And what's an astounding stat is that Kansas State now has given up 10 4th down conversions in 3 games. Opponents are 10 of 12. It's 128th in the country by Kansas State. K-State allowed 9 4th down conversions in 13 games last season. They've already allowed more than they allowed all of last season. They were 4th in the country in 4th down conversion rate last year at 32%. They're at 83% so far this year. They can't get off the field. And you get Army in a 4th and 3, 4th and 4, like that. They want to be in 4th and 2 or shorter. You got to get a stop on those 4th and 3s.
And it's a toughness thing. I mean, obviously, you run 80 something plays on defense and you're going to get tired. But when you're a defensive guy and you get into those short yardage situations, into those 4th and shorts, that's your opportunity to get off the football field. And so that's an important time to man up, to dig down deep and say, you know what, we're going to get a stop here and we're going to go sit on the bench and let our offense get some work. But unfortunately, we've just not seen a lot of toughness out of this group. And so unfortunately, every time, late in that game, every time the Army offense took the field, you thought, man, this is going to be a slow, painful death. And that's exactly what it was. Just short yardage after short yardage after short yardage. But when you're running 4 downs, it doesn't take a whole lot. 3.7 works when you're running 4 downs on offense. And so, unfortunately, the defense, sure, they didn't give up a lot of big plays, but they didn't have to perform really poorly. And we're going to take a look at some instances where guys just aren't being tough and guys aren't being assignment sound. And that created some serious problems for us, largely in the second half of that football game.
Yeah, we're gonna get into the all 22. We're gonna throw to a break first, and then I'm gonna come back. A couple more questions for Curry, and then we're gonna dive into the film. But first, I want to call all Chiefs fans. You can be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Visit Chiefs.com/GEHA now. Enter to win a chance to be on the field for a once in a lifetime view of the pregame coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at Chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll be back with Curry here in just a moment.
What's up, guys? I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network, and I'm here to talk to Kansas City businesses. If you rely on technology, you need an IT support team that's not just another vendor, but a true IT partner. That's how I want to introduce you to my friend and neighbor, KJ Miller. He is a VCIO at ThrottleNet, the Midwest's highest rated and most reviewed IT support company. They've been in business for more than 25 years, helping companies stay secure, productive, and ahead of the curve. They aren't just IT support, but they provide data security, IT strategy, and cloud software services. They do it all, and their reviews show they do it better than anyone else. So if you want to hear about how ThrottleNet can help your local business, join the conversation with myself, KJ Miller from ThrottleNet, and our resident genius from KC Sports Network when it comes to IT, at least as he's affectionately known by us, Mr. Craig Stout. Click the link in the description to hear how ThrottleNet can help you.
Curry, I think another indictment of the Kansas State defense and what Chris Kleiman views of them right now is, remember that you had Army in a 3rd and 11, right? And they get called for a hold. And it would have put them in a 3rd and 21 right around like the 29, 30-yard line. And their kicker just missed 2 field goals in the 40-yard range the week before against Tarleton State. All right. And you're up 21-14. Army's nightmare scenario is 3rd and long, right? 4th and long. Like they're playing with a backup quarterback. Like 3rd and 21, they're screwed. And Chris Kleiman elected to decline the hold, Curry. And that would have been in a 3rd and 21. And that almost screams like he doesn't trust his defense, even in a 3rd and 21, to get off the football field. Like, to me, that's a pretty big indictment.
Yeah, I think you can look at it either way, right? You can look at it and say, man, that's an indictment on our defense, or you can say, it's confidence that our defense is not going to give up 11 yards to Army. And so unfortunately, I guess it just depends on how it shakes out. But absolutely, I mean, you put them in a 3rd and 21, and I guess if you decline it, you take it 4th and 11. You're saying, hey, you won't get 11 yards on a single down once. If you put them in a 3rd and 21, you're saying, hey, you're not going to get that many yards on consecutive downs, which I think increases your likelihood of success. So yeah, I was a little confused by that decision as well. But I can also understand why you would say, okay, hey, we're going to take our chances on 4th and 11, and we're going to say, Army, you're not converting here. But unfortunately, when you're not playing assignment sound defense and guys aren't making the right play and making plays, you're always going to be in a tough spot, no matter the down and distance.
Yeah. And Army ultimately chooses to kick the field goal. They do make it. They pulled a 21-17. But I don't know. I would have loved to have put them in a 3rd and 21 and said, like, hey, they're probably going to run the ball still. They're going to get 4 or 5 yards, and they're kicking like a 46-yarder. And I understand the dynamic. You don't want to have your defense out there for more plays. They're already tired and you're adding another play there. But that's something that I would have liked to have seen by Kansas State there. But again, that's nitpicking a little bit. We'll talk about Avery Johnson when we roll the film as well. But I think let's just dive in to the all 22, Nick. So if you're ready, we'll just start with play 1 here. Which I believe is actually going to be the 3rd and 1 by Joe Jackson. Kansas State on the first drive gets stuffed. And Curry, they actually, this play call should work, but you can see there Andrew Langang pulling around from right guard, does not get to the guy he should, and a linebacker just comes free right up the gap and hits Joe Jackson for a loss of a half yard on the 3rd and 1. K-State settles for a field goal. This is, again, just simple execution errors where everybody executes but one guy. And not to pick on Andrew Langang, but this play works for a first down if he makes a block.
Absolutely. I mean, you and I talked about this the other day, and I think during the game, you see once again us getting hit behind the line of scrimmage in a third and 1 situation. And you're like, what in the world is happening? And then you watch the all 22, and you say, man, this is a well designed play. And sure, they're loading the box and they're crashing down on the line of scrimmage, and so this is going to be a tough fought first down no matter what. But all we're doing here is we're running a trap play and we're pulling Andrew, and all he's got to do is keep his head up and see that linebacker. And if he just puts his hat right in that linebacker's chest, Joe just has to make a little inside cut, press the inside hip of Sam Hecht, and he's easily getting that first down and falling forward and probably getting a few yards. And so this is just lack of execution. And I don't exactly know what Andrew is doing here. I mean, I don't know if this is a technique, if they're taught to keep square to the line of scrimmage and ultimately, shove the back of one of your teammates. Maybe he thought that linebacker wasn't going to make a play, wasn't a threat. And so was just trying to push the pile forward, but all he's got to do is keep his head up, trap that linebacker. And this is an easy first down. We probably go score 6 and start the game with a 7-point lead. And so frustrating execution here. And again, I think the theme of the all 22 last week, have we looked at it after the Iowa State game? And obviously the theme of today's all 22 is just, hey, our coaches aren't necessarily putting these guys in bad situations. We're just not executing.
Yeah, and I haven't seen a lot of guards pull in the way that Lengang did there, where he's just shuffling his feet. Like,
I can understand that, in a short yardage situation, shuffling your feet, but I don't necessarily understand the square, keeping square to the line of scrimmage, where the only defender that you're going to see when you're square to the line of scrimmage like that is a defender who beat one of your teammates, which is not what you're anticipating. You should be anticipating, a D lineman or a linebacker who you're ultimately trapping on that play. And Andrew probably has 100 pounds on that linebacker that made the play. All he's got to do is put his hat on him, and that guy's not making the play. And Joe's easily getting that first down. And so again, it's just, I'm not exactly sure that the play call. I'm not exactly sure the technique there. I obviously didn't play offensive line, but I don't think it's unreasonable to say if Andrew is if he pulls properly, kicks that linebacker out, easy first down.
By the way, Curry, do you like going under center with a QB like Avery Johnson, or would you prefer, him in a read play where the defense has to respect both that? I guess they have to respect a potential play action and bootleg, right, too. But
yeah, I'm indifferent on that. I don't mind seeing us go under center. It just gives the defense a different look. Obviously, I said earlier, and I continue to believe this way, until our offensive line shows that we're capable of getting a push in short yardage situations, I would probably stop running power because it hasn't proven to work. And I would put the ball in your best player's hands. Roll him out, give him a run pass option, or run a read play of some sort, maybe with a passing attachment on the back end of it. I'm indifferent on it. I do think sometimes Joe is notoriously slow in terms of his approach to his handoff cadence. And I don't know that it was that case on that particular play, but sometimes I think Joe is a little slow in the backfield and needs to be a little bit quicker to getting that handoff and hitting the hole. And so that would be a frustration of mine as well. I don't hate the play call. If it's executed, it's converted. But I do want to see us, more going forward, putting the ball in Avery's hands, giving him a run pass option, maybe rolling him out, putting some pressure on the defense. And I think we'll see more conversions that way.
A pretty staggering stat from Pro Football Focus: runs outside the tackles for K-State this year, 41 for 230 yards, 5.6 yards per rush. Runs inside the tackles, 28 carries, 75 yards, 2.7 yards per carry. Just not getting it. You're not successfully running the ball.
It's not good enough. It's not good enough. And obviously, I think we're in a position where we've seen some injuries on the front. Unfortunately, potentially our best offensive lineman hasn't been out there yet this year. And we were without both Terrence Enos and JB Nelson on Saturday, both of who have played a lot of snaps in their college career. And JB, who I think is a really useful player in short yardage situations because of his size and strength. But so I guess my point is, I think there's, we're still in search of the best five. We got to see Amos out there on Saturday, and he showed some positive things in terms of run blocking. But we've got to find that five guys quicker because what the product that we're putting out there has just not been good enough through 3 games.
Yep. All right, we're going to move to defense. Saw some comments after last game that we didn't highlight enough of the defensive stuff. We only had one play. Well, we got like 4 or 5 on this one, guys. And this is a 3rd and 4. This is the Army go-ahead touchdown drive. 3rd and 4. K-State fresh out of a timeout that they called, and just an easy 15-yard quarterback draw here with some really bad angles by Kansas State. BJ Payne, I'm not sure what he sees here. You see K-State's D tackles get washed completely down as well. which opens up a big hole there. What do you see here, Curry?
Yeah, I mean, it's harder for me to review defensive plays just because I've not lived it as much.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's, I mean, obviously, you're seeing, Damien's getting cut block. Damien's getting cut block on the backside of this play. Uso gets completely washed down. Chidi gets completely washed down, which opens up a really big hole. I mean, neither one of those guys should be getting washed down as easily as they did. Austin Romaine, the offensive, I mean, they did such a good job blocking this that Austin Romaine gets double teamed at the second level. And is, despite getting double teamed, he's still the only guy who comes relatively close to making a play. To me, the issues here are 25 and 7. This is a play that VJ should be diagnosing and should be making probably a yard or two beyond the line of scrimmage and putting them in another fourth down situation. Instead, he runs right into the backside of Austin and the two guys double teaming him and just takes himself completely out of the play. Not something you want to see from your fourth year starting safety. So disappointing effort from him. And then I think equally as disappointing is the effort from Zayshawn Rich on the backside.
Yep.
And I think, unfortunately, I think we all like Zayshawn and we all see his potential, but we're going to see on this tape that Zayshawn needs to be a little bit more willing to get involved in the run game. And this is a play where, he's pressing to the line of scrimmage. And when he sees that ball, and I know he's trying to work contain, but Gabe Powers, I think has contain well taken care of on this play, crashing down on the backside. He's got to fit that gap and make that play probably on the 10-yard line and put them in a 1st and goal situation from the 10. Instead, he's late to diagnose, and then his effort in chasing down the quarterback is just not good enough and allows that quarterback to walk in. So I think, some problems up front. Defensive line got handled, shouldn't be getting handled like that against an Army football team that is much smaller than we are. And then ultimately VJ Payne and Zayshawn Rich just do not put forth a good enough effort to make it a successful play.
The other thing about that on the D line, Curry, I mean, your D tackle, I think it's Uso's lined up over the right guard, and that center has to make a long reach block. And he seals him and just washes him down. Like, that can't happen. I mean, that's a hard block to make as the center to get around there to reach, and then just to wash him down. And then Chidi, I think it's Chidi, the DA.
It is Chidi.
Yeah, he gets washed down, and he's lined up on the outside shoulder of the tackle, and he's able to reach block, and they just shoved everybody down, and it was way too easy.
So, yeah, and if you're, I mean, part of the, again, you mentioned this earlier, but part of the thought processing going to that 4 down front this year was, we've got some good depth up front, we've got some good size, we've got some good versatility. We're going to take our chances putting those guys on the field more often. And in that case where you've got, obviously you've got Uso and Damien inside, 2 experienced D tackles, both getting wiped out. And then you've got a 275, 280 pound defensive end just getting manhandled, shoved completely out of the play. And so gap integrity, not on the front, not good on that particular play, not good a lot of the night. And then ultimately guys on the back end, not good, filling their gaps and making plays. So I think just struggling with gap integrity, being assignment sound, and ultimately diagnosing plays and making plays is something we're really struggling with. And we saw it there from DJ and Zayshawn.
Yeah. Now this next one is an offensive play for K-State, and you're probably wondering, why did I include this? This is just a 3-yard, 4-yard out route. It's 3rd and 15. Now K-State ultimately gets a touchdown on this drive that eventually leads to the Jerron Tibbs play. But Curry, I saw some fans complaining about this, and I want to get your thoughts. Like, I know they were probably thinking 4 down territory, which is why they did this, but look at all the routes. Nobody runs beyond the 29-yard line. Like, everybody's running a 5-yard route, essentially, which, if completed, gets you in a 4th and 10. And they end up completing a 3-yard out. They're in a 4th and 11, 4th and 12 at that point. They go to Tibbs, I think, on the next play for a touchdown. But I'm not a fan of, and they did this on the last drive of the game where they threw like a 3-4 yard pass to JD Davis to get him in a 4th and 6, 4th and 7. Like, to me, this is not a play that I like seeing. I want to see him try to pick up more chunks.
Agreed. Completely agree. I was not a fan even after the fact when we converted on 4th for a touchdown, and was certainly not a fan late in the game. I mean, it's just way, way, way too conservative. And you're voluntarily putting yourself in 4th and long, that's not a good sign. 4th and long is one of the hardest downs to convert on in football. And so I just not a fan. I mean, we've shown Avery's thrown that he's throwing the ball really well down the football field this year. when we seldomly use the intermediate passing game, we found some success. And so I just don't like that we're submitting ourselves to, hey, we're going to take 3 or 4 yards here, and then we're going to take our chances on a 4th and extra long. Obviously the defense right there, they're playing a little bit of a soft shell. They're not expecting a guy to break off an out route at 3 yards. And so, I think Jace could have easily gotten 8 or 9 on that had he just attacked the leverage of that defender and made him think he was going deep. But unfortunately, we didn't even make an effort to sell that we were going to try to get to or beyond the sticks. And so not a fan of that play call at all. I know it ended up working out okay for us, but I think we need to be a little bit more aggressive than that.
Completely agree. All right, we're going back to defense here. This is a 4th and 4 play, 4th and 3.5 at the goal line. This is Army takes a 14-13 lead. They mark him down at the half-yard line here, but he got, upon review, but he got the first down. And again, this is poor eye discipline. You see Asa Newsome go down the line. He's probably got to have contained there. And you just mentioned Zayshawn Rich on the last one, Curry. I mean, there's nobody over there for him to cover. He's got to come up. He's got to be physical. He's got to make a hit here and attack the quarterback who's going here. Instead, you see Zayshawn Rich drifting, and then he finally comes up around the 2-yard line. The quarterback's got all the momentum at that point and is, of course, going to get the first down. Again, this is poor eye discipline, and this is just not being physical enough.
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely. And I think also probably not understanding the situation, understanding that, hey, this guy can go get a first down by getting to, the 1 or 2 yard line. And so, yeah, this is one of the biggest plays in the football game. And I think epitomizes some of the issues that we're seeing with this football team. The play is there to be made, and we just don't go make it. I think you're right. Asa takes himself out of the play by getting washed under by that tight end by poor eye discipline, as you mentioned. But at the end of the day, this play, I mean, it's obviously play action. This play is defended well on the back end. I think VJ and Gunnar Maldonado do a nice job. VJ probably got away with a hole, but they did a nice job there. And so the only option that they have is for this quarterback to take off and run. And despite not having a man that he's defending, Zayshawn for some reason retreats. And then when he decides to go try to make a play on the football, doesn't exactly make a strong effort, which obviously allows the guy to get past the line of scrimmage and to almost get into the end zone. So to me, one of the most frustrating plays of the night, if Zayshawn is diagnosis and goes and tries to make a play on this quarterback, he's probably not getting anywhere close to the line of scrimmage. He's probably getting gang tackled around the 5 by Zayshawn and Cody. And so it's just poor diagnosis and poor effort by Zayshawn. And again, I think I'm still optimistic about the future for Zayshawn Rich. He's a good player. I think he's shown that he's good in coverage, but now we've seen two big football plays in this game where Zayshawn has an opportunity to make a play and just doesn't.
And he's a big enough corner. He can come up and make a play.
Exactly.
That's part of the thing. K-State's bigger at corner this year, and they haven't been physical enough, in diagnosing and
but we never saw, Jacob Parrish is a pretty little guy.
Yeah.
DJ Reed was a pretty little guy. We never saw those guys have issues with sticking their nose in the run game or against receivers. And I mean, Jacob did it the other day against the Atlanta Falcons and made a heck of a play beyond the line of scrimmage. Zayshawn's got to be tougher at the end of the day. He's got to be tougher. And if Zayshawn's tougher, that football game probably has a different outcome.
Yep. Okay. Well, hey, we're going to toss to a second break, and then we're going to come back to wrap up and go through some more All-22 with Curry.
What's good, everyone? It is KCSN betting analyst Benny Heiss. Something hit me as I was driving to the Missouri side, ironically, for something not available on the Kansas side. I cross over. I just can't get over how long sports fans in the state of Missouri have been waiting. It feels like forever. Good news is you don't have to wait much longer because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is finally coming to the Show Me State. And if you're thinking, yeah, but I got to wait on the sidelines until December 1st, it's not true. You can sign up right now. And when we go live, new Missouri customers get $300 in bonus bets just for placing a $5 bet. $5. That's not even as much as a pumpkin spice latte that's going to take over. So it's not some ragtag sports, but this is DraftKings. You got live in-game betting. So if your team starts hot, you could jump in mid-play. There's lightning fast payouts. None of that wait 3 days for your money nonsense. And you've got more ways to get in on the action. There's no better way to start. It's all from your phone. When we go live, you'll be betting with a sportsbook trusted by millions, safe, secure, fast withdrawals, everything you want. Well, except maybe a guarantee that your team will cover the spread, but that part's still on you. So here's the move. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use code KCSN. And when we go live December 1st, that $5 bet turns into $300 in bonus bets. That is code KCSN in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 21 plus and physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after they are issued. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
All right, Nick, ready to roll the next one. This is Army 4th and goal. Look, this is probably the most unacceptable drive to me of the game, Curry, because you get Army in a 2-minute drill situation where they got to go 75 yards. That is their nightmare situation. I could probably count on one hand over the last decade 2-minute drill drives where Army had to go 75 yards because, and not to mention they're with their backup quarterback here making his first start of his career to add on to that. But here you just see kind of a counter pass where misdirection and VJ, I don't know who's at fault here. And again, I know you're not necessarily a defensive guy, Curry. You got K-State's linebackers washing out to the right. You got VJ Payne washing out to the right. You got two guys basically running wide open for Army for a touchdown on the 4th and goal here right before half, which was obviously another huge play in the game.
Yeah, and again, I guess I'm struggling to see what kind of coverage we were in here, and I know this is a different type of offense, so it's maybe take some unorthodox approaches, but I don't in a goal-to-go situation like this. I would be shocked if we weren't in man-to-man coverage, just especially against a running team like this. Man up on every eligible receiver, and then put everybody else against the run game. I don't know why we wouldn't be doing that here. And if that's the case, then I think this is just a completely blown assignment by VJ Payne. He's got the guy who ends up catching the touchdown wide open, and VJ's 30 yards on the other side of the football field. And obviously Wesley Fair, I believe, is the other safety who got beat pretty badly as well. So they had another option there if the first guy wasn't open. But to me, I think this is just horrible execution. I think this is man coverage. I assume that we would be in man coverage at this point, and I think this is just an absolute blown assignment by BJ, and then Wesley Fair also gets beat pretty badly.
The other thing is Rich is covering a receiver that doesn't go out for a route. Like, I don't know if he's contained. I don't know if he's contained there, Curry, for the run or.
Well, it's kind of. I was going to mention that. It's kind of the same. It's kind of if you look at the last play where the quarterback gets the first down on 4th and 4, where Zayshawn is retreating despite there not being a receiver in his area. Here he's got a guy who I think he's defending, but he's obviously blocking, and he's not retreating. So it's just completely different approaches by the same guy in a similar situation. And if he retreats, as he did earlier, this throw is really, really difficult, if not impossible, for this quarterback to make. And so, again, I don't exactly know the assignments, especially against a team like Army. So it's hard to say exactly who's right and who's wrong. But based on what we saw from Zayshawn at other times in the football game, I don't understand why he's not dropping a little bit here. And so I just too many issues with this particular play to tell you what's really going on. And that's obviously a problem.
Yep, absolutely. All right, back to the offense. This is the game-deciding interception here where they get pressure right up the middle. K-State doesn't pick up the blitz. Army brings 6 guys. You can see the twist there with the linebackers on the stunt. Get right up the middle. Avery under pressure. It's 3rd and 10. Throws it behind Joe Jackson. Still, a play that you'd like to see him maybe make, but not a good throw, obviously, by Avery on a night where he was on the money, much of that. And we'll talk about that too. But, I don't know. This feels as simple as a guy just making a throw off balance, Curry under pressure and making a bad throw and then making a play. But I don't know if you see anything else.
Yeah, I have a few issues with this play. and it's something we talked about last week, but pre-snap diagnosis, and getting into the right calls out of the wrong calls. And, obviously 3rd and 10 situations, our receivers have been winning most every game so far this year. And so I don't love that we only went with 5 in pass protection. Obviously that makes it pretty easy for one guy to get home, and that guy forces an errant throw. So probably would have liked to see us check this play from the jump, keep Joe in for pass pro, let him pick up that 6th guy, and take your chances with your other 4 receivers. So to me, that's problem number 1. Problem number 2, I think, is obviously the errant throw. Avery's getting pressure in his face and just throws it behind Joe, who tips the ball right up to the defender. Problem number 3 for me is the route. Look at the defense here, and look at all that green grass that Joe Jackson has when he's coming out of the backfield. And why with that flat defender, that hook to curl defender playing, 10 to 12 yards off of Joe and 5 yards leverage inside, why does Joe run, why does he go get 5 yards of outside leverage on that defender? To me, that's one of the biggest issues with this play. Joe needs to see, okay, who's the guy that's picking me up? He's not even looking. Who's the guy that's picking me up? And then he needs to attack the leverage of that guy, running more directly at him before breaking it across the guy's face. Or just basically running a straight angle route across the middle of the football field, making it an easier throw for Avery. So to me, I think Joe's route and his diagnosis of the defense post snap is one of the biggest issues with this play. It puts Avery in a really tough situation. So multiple issues on that play. We've got to diagnose the 6-man pressure, got to get into a better pass pro to put Avery in a good situation. Avery's got to put himself in a good situation. And then ultimately, Joe's got to do a better job of helping his quarterback. That's just not good football. You're not attacking any leverage of a defender. You're just thinking, okay, I've got an angle route here, and here's how I do it in practice on air, and here's the route that I'm going to run. That's not how football works. And if he diagnoses properly that hook to curl defender who's guarding him, ultimately, he may go get 20 on that play. So again, I think the play, despite the pressure issues, the protection issues, I think is a fine design, just not good execution by the receiver.
It's also multiple instances, Curry, where obvious pressure was going to come that K-State couldn't block in different games this season. And they've had the running back leak out and not stay in to protect. And that's minimized the chances of success. Like North Dakota did it multiple times. They outnumbered K-State on the blitz packages, and K-State leaked the running back out still, or was running some sort of read. So,
and it's just, and you hope that year 2 of being a starter, year 3 of being a quarterback in this system, or in the Kansas State system, would allow for some of that to be diagnosed and handled. Also hope that the coaches are helping to diagnose that and helping put guys in better situations. I know it's a late game situation. I don't believe we had any timeouts, but just given the circumstances, you should be getting up to the line of scrimmage and making changes before the call. I just don't think we're doing a lot of that. We're just not making a lot of the necessary, at the line of scrimmage changes to put us in the best situation. Again, I know I sometimes I look back to my playing days too often, but we had our most success when we were making changes at the line of scrimmage, just because the guys on the field, including the guy, the most important guy on the field, the quarterback, is best able to diagnose and get in and out of plays, and knowing, which guys, hey, I know my skill set of my guys, I know which play is going to work in this situation, and quarterback should be licking his chops at those pressure situations, or those situations where they're getting in the right coverages. And I just don't think we're doing any of that.
Not only to mention, Curry, the advantages in today's game where the headset technology into the helmet, like they can communicate to Avery Johnson until the 15-second mark. So
you're exactly right. You're exactly right. So there's a lot of improvement to be made there. But again, at the end of the day, I think that play call works if Joe executes his route properly.
Yeah. The other thing I would just say there, though, too, Curry, is it's a linebacker for Army coming at him up the middle. I would like to see Avery, instead of throwing off balance, just try to get to the edge, and use his legs. He can outrun an Army linebacker. Why are you retreating and throwing off your back foot?
And I kept saying, I was sitting in the south end zone at that point in the game, and I just kept saying Avery's going to have to put the team on his back. And I fully expected, just like we saw late against North Dakota, where Avery flashed his wheels. I completely expected that we would see that, just because I thought, okay, Avery's going to understand this is a moment that I've got to take control of, and I'm gonna put it in my own hands. Completely agree. I mean, I'm a big fan of the NFL just because of the level of play that we see, most nights. And if you watch that game on Sunday night, Bills versus Ravens, two guys with, obviously different type players, but two guys with skill sets like Avery, can run it, can pass it. And you just rarely see those guys. You rarely see them take a snap or force a throw, because they trust that if a guy gets loose, I'm going to beat him. I mean, there's that one play where I think Gregory Rousseau comes off the edge and has got a beat on Lamar, and Lamar retreats 20 yards back before he ultimately scrambles around the defense, or around the defensive front, and gets like a 20-yard gain. And I'm not saying but I'm just saying that's the type of, Avery needs to understand that in that situation, I'm better than the guy who's coming free, and I'm going to take my chances to beat him and maybe put the team in a better situation. So I would like to see that more from Avery. But at the end of the day, I think, again, just coming back to that play can be executed. That play can work if it's executed. And again, the problem that we see over and over and over again with these plays that we're looking at is hey, we're not in the worst spots. We're just not executing. And that's the recurring issue here.
Yeah. All right. The next one here, JB Bradley, great kid. Love the kid. And unfortunately gets hurt on this play. And now, according to Chris Kleinman's going to miss a few weeks. And who knows if that plays a part in this ball coming out here when he hits the ground. But only a one-man route and a beautiful throw, and what looked like a touchdown live, but overruled and was an incomplete pass as the ball comes out. And that, just want to show this, Curry, because obviously a one-man route, look, you got a 6'5" receiver that just makes a play. Well, almost made the play. Gorgeous throw by Avery Johnson, and should have been a touchdown.
Yeah, and I think one, he's got to hang on to it. Two, I thought the catch should have stood on the field, as called on the field. But yeah, I mean, this is the type of stuff that you want to see more of. Again, we talked about this after weeks 1 and week 2. We on this drive alone, we took 2 shots down the field. We took this shot to Jaron, to JB, and then a couple of plays later, we 4th down, we threw it to Jaron for a touchdown. 2 big-bodied receivers, great at high pointing the football, obviously much bigger than the defensive counterpart. Why do we not take a shot the rest of the football game? I know we didn't get a lot. I know we didn't have a lot of snaps for in the second half, but on that last drive or the first drive of the second half, why are we not taking some shots? We've got the guys to do it. We've seen that Jace is capable of beating basically anybody down the football field. We didn't see them take a shot at him all night long. JB and Jerome, why are we just going to them early in the second quarter and not going back to that? And so to me, I think the issue is every game so far, we've made big plays down the football field, but we're just not continuing to take shots. And that's a problem for me. I think we've just got to get more aggressive down the field. You go back to that third and 12 or whatever it was earlier, where we ran the 3-yard out route to Jace. Again, I understand somewhat what the thought process is there, but if you're going for it on 4th down, and you've got the playmakers down the football field, why not throw the ball down the field? It is a question that repeatedly crosses my mind. And so I hope to see us take more and more shots down the football field, because we've seen that we're able to be successful there. And Avery's obviously been on the money throwing the ball down the field.
Yeah. All right, this next one, pretty self-explanatory. And look, it's a halfback pass. Teams like Army, Navy, Air Force, they're going to do this at least once in a game.
Absolutely.
They pull it out right here, and K-State couldn't defend it against Navy. When they did it, it ultimately cost them the game at the end, and the bowl game and the Liberty Bowl, and they weren't ready for this one. I think it's Quay Moss. You see, he just cheats up, and he's burnt.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Any of these triple option teams, they're going to call this play once a game, and it's a dead. I mean, I think you diagnosed it early. I think DY said he knew it was coming instantly. I could see it from where I was sitting that this was coming. I mean, just the way that they attack this option with the running back getting and keeping so much depth. It shouldn't take much to diagnose the halfback pass. And again, you should be expecting that. I guess question that I have is it was the approach to personnel. Obviously, Quay is a guy who usually plays that star, jack, whatever position for us in the 4-2-5, and he's a guy who likes to stick his nose in things. Maybe I guess if you've got a true cornerback out there, maybe that doesn't happen. But because Quay's probably looking to stick his nose in the run game a little more than you would like in this particular situation. So I guess was a little confused by that on Saturday night, why we didn't see Amarion or Donnie Mack, or even Cobbs out there, Daniel Cobbs out there playing that second cornerback position. And so ultimately, just lack of execution and just being aware of the situation and knowing what's about to come. And so just another frustrating mishap.
Yep. All right, Nick, want to roll the next one? All right, this is an illegal formation, Curry. Now, this is a big play in the game because K-State ultimately settles for a field goal. They get a first down on this play. It's third down. You see Avery Johnson pre-snap where he does diagnose the pressure. They move Will Swanson inside to pick it up. He throws a strike to Tibbs, a little bit low. Nice catch. They get the first down, but they get a 5-yard penalty. Then they go to third and long. They don't get the first. They settle for a field goal. I guess, what do you see here from Avery? Is this more on Will Swanson for getting in the wrong? Like, he needs to be on the line there, I assume, and not behind. Like, or what do you see? I struggle with illegal formations, candidly, Curry. Like, I don't fully understand it. So you can help explain what they screwed up here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just when you look, we'll let it roll back to the top of the play here, but you can see that when Will or Braden, whoever that is split out wide, they're on the line of scrimmage. And then when they get called back in, they get into an off the line of scrimmage position. So that's the first issue. He needs to remember I'm the on guy. I guess secondarily, both those outside receivers should be recognizing that he's coming off the line of scrimmage, and they've got plenty of time to make an adjustment, and one of them to get up on the line of scrimmage. So those guys could have rectified that themselves. They shouldn't have had to, but they could have. And so kind of two mistakes there that compounded each other. And I guess, the other issue is, I think you identified this, but it's why are we calling in a guy for mass protection when they're only showing that they're going to bring 4 guys? And Avery might have been doing that because he was recognizing that we were getting zero coverage and wanted to create more freedom for Jace. But that's another issue. Again, it's just diagnosis. It's why are we bringing in a 6th protector when they're only showing that they're going to bring 4, maybe 5 guys, and really the 5th guy only comes when Braden or Will comes in onto the line of scrimmage. And then again, it's just, we've talked about this, but it's obviously zero coverage. You're in a red zone situation. It's obviously zero coverage. That's got to be a situation where you've got to go trust one of your guys, probably Jace in that situation, because he's getting soft coverage from a high safety. Trust one of your guys to go win. Give Jace a 2-way. Give him a post corner option and let him go win. And I know there was a little pressure that ultimately came in, and Avery made a fine play, but we need to be winning more against zero coverage with the weapons we have. I mean, if I would have been sitting in that slot position with the safety 10 yards off of me and no middle help, I'm automatically thinking touchdown. And we've got to be better in those situations. So a lot of issues on that play again. It ended up working, but just lack of execution, missed assignment causes us to have to settle for a field goal. So again, just frustrating execution errors, especially by some guys who have been around for a long time.
Yeah. The other part is you moved Swanson in to protect, and then you didn't slide the protection to the left. Story lets a guy come clean off the edge. Like,
again, it's even if they brought that 5th guy when you slid Will in, we still let a free rusher come and we went 6-5. I mean, it's nonsensical. It just it makes no sense.
Just shooting yourself in the foot, being not executing, and discipline mistakes. All right, next one is a Jace Brown drop on the last drive of the game, and Avery throws a couple of darts here, and Jace is open, gets hit right after he catches it, but a play that Jace Brown, for as good as he is, he's got to hang on to this. You get a first down and a big chunk play, but the ball gets jarred out. Credit to their safety for hitting him, and that safety made a couple nice plays on this drive. But again, like, K-State led college football in drop rate among Power 4 schools last year, according to PFF, and things like this are frustrating, that you got the ball getting jarred loose on a perfect throw.
Exactly. And it's the world you live in when you play receiver at this level. Short of instances where you just toast a guy in man coverage, you're going to get hit. And in this case, tight game, fourth quarter, big play, you have to expect that I need to squeeze this ball as hard as I ever have because I'm going to get smacked. It's a good concept. It's a little bit of a smash switch concept. Joe Jackson runs to the flat. Jace runs a little bit of a smash corner. Does a really nice job. Avery, as he did all night long, put an excellent throw on Jace. Jace just has to squeeze that football and know he's going to get a hit and make a play. I mean, he's going to be sore the next day, but you're going to feel a lot better making that catch than dropping it. So really, really frustrating drop here. It took a lot of steam out of the stands, it felt like, and put us in a tough situation late in that football game.
Yeah. And then I think the next one here, Nick, is the Tibbs drop. Yeah. Then this is a huge chunk play. And this is the second straight week the ball comes out on a deep strike to Tibbs. It would have been a huge play. I mean, Curry K-State would have been set up inside the 30-yard line of Army with 2 minutes left in a golden position to go win this game. And a lot of people thought it might have been a fumble. Again, safety makes a nice play getting there, but like Tibbs got to hang on to this football. We heard a lot of hype about him and being that impactful number 2 wide receiver. A beautiful throw by Avery Johnson, but again, the ball put on the turf.
Yeah, just again, poor execution. And we've got to know, I mean, they're playing, some sort of 2-man look, cover 2, 2 high safeties, both safeties playing high and wide. Jerron runs a really nice route, just like he did last week in some 4 vertical schemes where he's, just getting over the top of that inside defender. And Avery does a hell of a job throwing him flat down that line to try to get him to avoid that safety. And honestly, I think we agree this probably should have been called a fumble. I think they didn't call it a fumble because they called Jerron's an incomplete pass earlier. So I think this was a little bit of a makeup call. But again, situation where you see that high safety moving outside of you, way outside the hash. You've got to know that I'm going to get hit, and you've got to. I mean, all he has to do is squeeze that football. This is an easier catch than the one that Jace just dropped on the last play. And heck of a play by the safety, but you expect your 6'3", 210-pound receiver to go make this football play. And if he makes this play, we're winning this football game. There's no doubt in my mind. So again, as the theme has been on this series of plays, we are just not making football plays. We are just not making winning football plays, and that's why we're 1-2.
Yeah. Now, here on the last one we're going to run, it's a positive one. Tibbs makes a really nice catch on a beautiful throw by Avery Johnson. This is a 4th down conversion, 4th and long. Hits Tibbs in the back. I think we got the end zone view here, too. That'll show you where he just drops it right in the bucket. Tibbs makes a nice catch. Again, shows that you probably need to be going more vertical and stretching the field. But another beautiful throw ball by Avery. I mean, I would argue maybe Curry, the best that I've seen Avery in terms of accuracy throw the ball in his career in this game. I mean, he was accurate most of the night. Now, there are other things we can nitpick, but beautiful throw, and Tibbs makes the play.
Yeah, just excellent throw, excellent catch. You're right. Avery was excellent all night, and it's frustrating for him that he takes so much heat, and sometimes rightfully so. But he played well enough Saturday, the whole game, to put us in winning situations. And unfortunately, his teammates didn't match that in a lot of ways. Gutsy call here on 4th and long, going with the go route toward the boundary, but obviously it worked. Just what we talked about earlier, trusting your big time playmakers and the guy who's got huge size advantage to go up and make a football play. And Avery makes a hell of a throw. Jerron makes a hell of a catch. Again, this is a lot harder of a catch than the one that he just dropped on that last drive of the game. But this is teach tape. I mean, he stacks the defender. He slows down and lets that ball fade over his outside shoulder to pin that defender on his backside and makes a really tough and really solid football catch. Again, another instance of zero coverage in 4th down. Offensive line does a nice job picking it up. It worked, so I'm a fan. But again, zero coverage, and we're taking a deep shot down the boundary. Zero coverage with no safety help in the middle of the football field. We've got to do a better job of utilizing the middle of that football field. There's no reason why Jace Brown, in that case, one-on-one against a safety, shouldn't be streaking toward the goalpost with nobody within 10 yards of him. So again, it worked here. We executed it well because it was a great throw and catch, but we've got to do a better job against zero coverage of getting ourselves in situations where Avery's making an easy pitch and catch, like he did against Iowa State on that double move that Jace scored on in the first half of that football game. We've got to get better against converting against zero, or else we're going to keep seeing it, and it's going to continue to cause us problems in pressure situations.
Is that on Avery to get him in that? Curry, or can the wide receiver,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they've got to be saying, I mean, we've seen the pattern here and it's happened in prior games, but they got to be understanding every time they come off the field. What are you saying? Okay, when we're getting in third and short, fourth and long, or when we're getting in red zone or close to red zone situations, we're getting zero. And Jace has got to be saying, give me an inside fade. Give me a post corner option. I mean, these guys got to be telling the quarterback, here's what's going to work against these guys, because they're playing against them all game long. And I mean, that was where we made our hay. We came off the field after every series, and we'd get with Coach Snyder, and he'd say, what do you see? What's going to work? And then Jake and Tyler and I would get together, and we would say, hey, if we get this look again, go to this play. And all it was knowing, I mean, again, offense, this game of football, especially in a zero coverage situation, is set up for offensive success. In a one-on-one situation, the offense should win 7-8 times out of 10, especially with good players and better players. And so these guys have to be seeing that, and they have to be saying, this is my opportunity. Because if you're a Jace Brown or Jerron Tibbs or anybody else for that matter, and an Avery Johnson, if you're seeing zero coverage, you should be licking your chops and thinking touchdown every single time. You should be making defenses pay for playing you and playing cover zero against you, and you should make them think twice about it. And we just haven't done that yet.
Yeah. Curry, rapid fire real quick here. Prediction on Friday night against Arizona. Do you think they get right on the right track? I mean, and pull out a win, or what do you have?
Unfortunately, I don't think so. I think we're a football team that I think is not mentally tough, and we just have not shown an ability to make the winning football plays. And I struggle to believe that in our fourth game in 20 days that we're going to go on the road, Friday night game, short rest after getting beat up by a tough Army team, and playing in potentially heat and altitude and against a high-powered offense and coming out on top. I hope I'm wrong. I'm usually fairly optimistic when it comes to these predictions, but I don't think that things are set up well for us. I think this is a huge mental and emotional challenge for this football team, and I don't think this football team is mentally and emotionally tough. And so, I guess win or lose, my hope is that the bye week, it comes at a crucial time for us and that we're able to recover and reset before the Big 12 season. But I just don't think this game sets up well for us on Friday night.
Yeah, my stand, they got to suck it up. They get 15 days off.
Exactly. That's the mentality, but that same mentality should be taken on fourth down situations of saying, what we play and I'm off this football field. These guys should be thinking 60 minutes of big time football in front of a national audience, and we're taking some time off and recovering. But I just don't know that we have guys who are capable of exhibiting that level of toughness and mental toughness. And I hope like hell I'm wrong. I hope like hell that these guys are getting themselves right, getting each other right, and finding a way to dig deep to ultimately get this thing back on track. But what we've seen in the last two home games does not inspire confidence for a team to go on the road against a tough opponent and get a win.
Yep. No, I agree with you. I just hope that I hope we're both wrong in that assessment, and we're talking about the win, and we can.
I hope so too. So
we could all enjoy a couple Saturdays of college football after a win. Finally,
I would love nothing more than to watch a slate of football games on Saturday while the Cats are resting after a big win on Friday night. There's nothing better than that.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, I think this team I think most people are taking the approach with this team of prove it. I mean, they need to prove it to themselves, to their coaching staff, and they need to prove it to our fan base. There was rightfully a lot of expectation around this football team, and sure, there were some weird, unfortunate injuries and occurrences that have taken place that have put us in a little bit of an unfortunate situation in certain cases. But this is still a talented football team that has all the makings of a good football team. But unfortunately, talent doesn't do a whole lot for you if you're not able to be tough and to make winning plays. And so, until this football team shows us otherwise, I think it's fair to now get your hopes up.
Yeah. Well said. Curry's the best. Love this every week. Hope all of you do. Tell your friends to check out the show, especially this episode with Curry as he breaks down and helps everyone become smarter football fans as we see things from the All-22 lens. Appreciate Nick Springer behind the scenes for producing as always and rolling all of that footage and keeping us on check and organized. And appreciate, as always, our friends over at Holiday Distillery, as well as Elenco for all your home remodeling, home improvement needs, premium window, premium bathroom, siding, doors. They got you covered. Go to elencohome.com. Appreciate all of you, and thank you for listening to another episode of 3 Mall.